Now, chapter 21 is one of the most famous parts of the Old Testament storyline. This is the Brazen Serpent, the fiery flying serpents chapter. You'll notice in verse 4 that as the people journeyed from Mount Hor by the way of the Red Sea to compass the land of Edom, and the soul of the people was much discouraged because of the way. Isn't that interesting? They were much discouraged because of the way, and yet Jesus later on in John chapter 14, verse 6 is going to say, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody cometh unto the Father but by me. I'm the way, and yet they've rejected him. And so now they're much discouraged because of the way that they chose instead. That's a Book of Mormon concept. Wickedness never was happiness. It will always lead to discouragement. At the front end, it sure feels free, it sure feels fun and exciting and more liberating, but it never leads to long-term joy, peace, contentment, lasting relationships. And so verse 5, the people spake against God and against Moses. Here we go again. It's not just murmuring, it's murmuring against God and against Moses. Wherefore have ye brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no bread, neither is there any water, and our soul loatheth this light bread.
The manna.
The manna that's been given. We are sick of this manna. We don't want what you have to give us anymore. We want something more substantial. And the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and much people of Israel died.
Now, we don't know exactly what kind of snake or serpent it was. One of the most common poisonous serpents in that region is called the carpet viper. And it turns out there are more snake deaths from the carpet viper every year in the world than anywhere else in the world. So it's a very, very poisonous snake. Now, again, we don't really know if it's that particular snake, but God is allowing the people to be challenged because they wanted to be on a different path. So he allows them to be challenged. And then what do? Verse 7, they're like, well, we have sinned. We have spoken against the Lord and against thee, pray unto the Lord that he take away the serpents from us. And Moses prayed for the people.
Which, by the way, as a side note, isn't it amazing how when they're in this dire strait that they recognize they're about to be destroyed, now they go to Moses, and instead of complaining against him, they plead with him to plead with God. That's good. That's wonderful, and I'm not making fun of that. I'm just saying what a difference it would have made if they hadn't just gone to Moses to ask him to go to God, but if they themselves had gone straight to the Lord as well as to the prophet. Both ways. But we're gonna celebrate the baby steps in the right direction here.
So God says to Moses, make thee a fiery serpent, set it upon a pole, and it shall come to pass that everyone that is bitten, when he looketh upon it, shall live. And Moses made a serpent brass, put it upon a pole, and it came to pass that if a serpent had bitten any man, when he beheld the serpent of brass, he lived. Which means some people chose not to look. Now, there have been times in my life I'm like, that solution seems too easy, it doesn't make sense, I'm not going to pay attention to it. So there's a lot of lessons here. And this was a story that mattered a lot to the Book of Mormon people. Here's a couple of references. 1 Nephi chapter 17, verse 41. And he did straiten them in the wilderness with his rod, for they hardened their hearts, even as ye have. And the Lord straitened them because of their iniquity. He sent fiery flying serpents among them. And after they were bitten, he prepared a way that they might be healed. And the labor which they had to perform was to look. It's interesting he uses the word labor. Labor usually means hard effort. And because of the simpleness of the way, or the easiness of it, there were many who perished. 2 Nephi 25:20. And now, my brethren, I have spoken plainly that ye cannot err. And as the Lord God liveth, that brought Israel up out of the land of Egypt, and gave unto Moses power, that he should heal the nations after they had been bitten by the poisonous serpents, if they would cast their eyes unto the serpent, which he did raise up before them, and also gave him power that he should smite the rock, and the water should come forth. Yea, behold, I say unto you, that as these things are true, and as the Lord God liveth, there is none other name given under heaven, save it be this Jesus, of which I have spoken, whereby man can be saved. Let me just share one more. Alma 37:46. O my son, do not let us be slothful because of the easiness of the way, For so it was with our fathers, for so it was prepared for them, that if they would look, they might live. Even so it is with us. The way is prepared, and if we will look, we may live forever. We do not need to complicate the gospel. It is just so simple. It is trust God and choose to be in an enduring relationship with Him. Sure, there's lots of commandments, there's lots of stories and scriptures. Just boil it all down. God, His Son, Jesus Christ, is the way. We don't need to complicate things. And we have prophets today. They speak clearly so that all of us, if we listen to the words of the prophets, we can experience temporal and spiritual salvation. And
I love all these, by the way, Taylor, these references in the Book of Mormon. It shows how aware all of these Book of Mormon prophets and writers were of this particular Old Testament story that they keep drawing upon to encourage and motivate their own people. Perhaps one of the longest discourses on this in the whole Book of Mormon, on this story, is given by Alma to a group of people, the Zoramites, who are struggling mightily. And if you want to dig in a little deeper, just study Alma 33, 19 through 23. It is beautiful because he does what we're always trying to do whenever we go into the Scriptures, is understand the Scriptures in their historical context and then apply them to our life and situation here. Alma does that better than almost anyone I've ever seen with this particular story in Alma 33, 19 through 23. So I want to focus on one little phrase in that bigger block of text that Alma shares with those Zoramites. He says, "Cast about your eyes and begin to believe in the Son of God, that He will come to redeem His people, and that He shall suffer and die to atone for their sins, and that He shall rise again from the dead, which shall bring to pass the resurrection, that all men shall stand before Him to be judged at the last and judgment day according to their works." And he asks us to plant this like a seed in our heart, that it can grow up and spring up unto, everlasting life eventually at the end of chapter 32. So it's this idea that Taylor's talking about of we can't stay stuck in, wow, I've got this problem and I've got to fix it. The reality is God's already provided a solution to all of our problems, and it really is that simple. Look to God and live. Trust Him and move forward and live.
I do feel sad because I've known enough people who feel like it should be harder, because if something is that significant, it should be harder. It's like, look, there's plenty of hard things in life. God is the easy path. We can be like the Israelites and go create our own paths and find ourselves really discouraged. Or we can say, God has allowed me to experience obstacles so I can grow. And if I always stay focused on Him, if I make and keep my covenants to have His Spirit with me, I can be empowered to see Him and to live.